We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Thursday. I want to thank Mike Kim, veteran. He was on the show yesterday. First time on the show. He was with us on a live. And Mike's done a lot of stuff. He's done a lot of stuff. And some people have said to me, you know, he's just done too much stuff. That none of that can be real. And I will tell you, I checked him out um, online, and all of it seems to be real. And if it's all real, and I'm pretty sure it is, that's truly amazing. This is an amazing guy, and we were fortunate to have him on the show, and I'm sure he'll be back at some point. Another person that we're fortunate to have on the show frequently is Old Soul. Old Soul is back with us, and she's back from Europe, and she's settling in, and there is no moss that grows on Old Soul because she's always moving and fucking shaking and doing stuff. So, um, how you been feeling generally about all the stuff that's going on? And we'll be talking about that stuff, Donald Trump and the fires and all this stuff. This has got to be a lot of um, overload, really,
It's a
for
lot.
somebody who's empathetic. Yeah.
It's a lot. My friend Deb, she I'm pretty sure Eric misses her in his lives telling people to sit on cactuses, but where she works, their PTO, you can only carry over so much. And then I think you have until like March 3rd or something to use it. You can't sell it or buy it back or nothing. Like you just lose it. So she
Right.
rolled over her PTO and she's like, I got to use this time. And she knew that I was coming here with the nuns to, help the girls get their birth control and, the vaccinations and stuff. And she was like, you kind of like are going through a lot. Why don't I just go with you? And I'm like, the heck, that ain't gonna be fun. She's like, oh, we'll make it fun. So she actually took her PTO and came with me. So
Now, you'd
even
never
though,
met her before, right? You'd never met
yeah,
her
yeah, I met
before.
her. She's from Utah, and we used to always meet in like St. George and go to like there's like a Crackle Barrel there and like a steakhouse there that we would just meet, talk, hang out. Sometimes she would come all the way here. Um, but she does things in like the Mormon community to help the young people there. I can't think of the name of it. I'll have to ask her. But what they
Okay.
do is because in Mormon, the only thing that they teach is abstinence. That's it. You're not supposed to think about sex. You're not supposed to talk about sex. You damn sure not supposed to engage in sex. Like all of that is off limits. So the children, when they have these natural urges, one of the ways that they skirt around that urge is oh gosh, this is crazy to talk about this, but
I know what you're gonna say. Go
yeah,
ahead.
the guys insert themselves into the girl. And then like their friends will like jump on like the sofa or the bed to like make the bodies move. And that's it's not technically sex if they're not like using their hips and doing the thrashing motion. But that's how they kind of get around it. And they sometimes they get surprised when they pop up pregnant.
I,
Anyway,
I spent I spent 45 years on that move, and I still have yet to perfect it. So the Mormons
she
say it's a
can say sex.
technicality. As long as we're not acting like we're having sex,
Mm-hmm,
totally, that's a technical loophole. But
mm-hmm.
even though it's a technically not sex,
Yeah.
but you become pregnant, that sounds like sex to me.
Well, they don't know. The churches and their families don't talk to them about that. So they think that sex is like the act itself. So if you insert yourself inside of a girl and you're just sitting there, you're not doing the act itself, then technically that's not sex. And what they'll do is their friends will like it's weird that your friends will be in the room when you're doing this, but the
Yeah, that's a
friends will
little
come in
weird.
the room, they'll jump in the bed, and while they're jumping in the bed, that makes the bodies move. And they
Wow.
do it on sofas and couches and stuff too. The other way that they could do it is they think that backdoor is a sin, but they will do it just as long as they repent, like right after they do it. And what she does is she talks to the youth in Mormon communities about how natural it is to think about it. You're not going to go to hell for impure thoughts. If it's something that you feel like you're going to do, the safe ways to do it. If they need condoms, birth control, or whatever, she is there to provide that to them and educate them. And you would think that these people, 17, 18, sometimes even older, would know better, but they don't. They have no idea.
You know
So,
what I like best about podcasting?
hmm.
What I like best about podcasting, if this was regular radio, terrestrial radio, I'd already be in a commercial break getting yelled at. But we don't have to worry about that here in podcasting, do we?
No, we don't.
And this is just a setup to promote Old Soul's upcoming podcast, Old Soul and Sex and the Mormons. It's going to be a barn buster. It's going to be crazy.
Ain't no shame over here. I'll talk about it.
I know, no, I've no shame either. Um, uh, you when you first came when we were talking in text before the show, you said you wanted to talk about a topic regarding babies, and I wasn't sure what you were talking about. So you captured my interest, piqued my interest, and you seem kind of emotional about this. So I think this is something we definitely need to hear about.
um, I'm pretty sure if you have any minorities listening, they're going to know exactly what that is because it's important to us, but
Well,
it's
it's
not.
important to me if it has to do with babies, regardless of color, but I may be ill informed.
There's a nurse in Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and she worked in the NICU, and she was going, and anytime she had like black babies, she was breaking their bones.
Oh,
And you think
Jesus
about the
Christ.
NICU, these are premature babies. They're like fighting from the moment that they're born. And she was breaking their bones. And
Oh, for fuck's sake.
she just got arrested. So the first when they found out she was doing something to the babies, and this just sucks. So they suspended her, and her suspension, I would call it a vacation, because she got a year off paid leave. And at the end of the year, they brought her back,
Oh,
and
for
she
God's sake.
continued to break the bones of the babies. Um, and anyway, she just got arrested for that. So far, they found 7 babies, and they're all black babies. And I think she's been charged with one. They have confirmed 7, but they just haven't built the case against the other babies yet. One of the babies had 12 fractures.
Jesus Christ.
They the
Somebody needs
re-
to take her out and shoot her execution style without any trial at all. Clearly,
yeah,
this woman is
one of
psychopathic.
the worst parts about it is that the father of one of the he's been kind of like the main person out there talking about it. And when they found out that his son had like a fracture, I think it was like between his ankle and his foot, they went ahead and did the little splits that they do with babies like that. And then they were asking him if he wanted to hold his baby. And he was just saying, nah, it's okay. We'll just like watch him. And we knew in my community the reason he didn't want to hold his son, because the moment he would have held his son, they would have tried to say that he did it. And but there was
Oh,
other
for
people
fuck's
like in
sake.
comment sections and stuff from, just like white people and stuff. They weren't really getting that, and we were trying to explain it to them. Um, but to me, that was kind of like the saddest part. Your son is
Yeah.
all in the NICU. He's premature, just a few pounds, and he's like, struggling to maintain his life. And this nurse comes in and just breaks his bone, and you can't even like hold him and comfort him for that. But that was like what's been going on. The big thing that we've been talking about. But it's like it just doesn't seem important to the rest of the world because Donald Trump has his press conferences and all this other crap that's going on. So it's just kind of like when people target us like that, it's just like not important to talk about.
Well, when you brought it up and I knew you were emotional and I didn't know what it was about, I thought, okay, it's going to be emotional. I'll be able to handle this. But this fucking bugs me to no end. Um, I
If
just
anybody
cannot
wanna
believe.
if anybody want to look it up, her name is like I believe Erin Strout or something. But if you just like type in, woman breaking baby's bones or something, it'll come up.
Well, and and that illustrates one of the biggest problems. This whole mess that we deal with Donald Trump. We end up rounding up around this fucking clown, this circus. And there are important issues in this country, serious issues that we don't get to address because we're distracted by bullshit, by taking over Greenland or changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. This is all ridiculous, unserious stuff. And these people in Washington, D.C. are supposed to be attending to our needs, protecting us, and we're too busy fucking around with this other bullshit. I mean, I think that's one of the problems that we've experienced. One of the things that have happened to this country that is just as important as anything else. People are getting ignored, situations, news stories, problems are getting ignored because we're too busy off dealing with a fucking problem child.
Yeah, it just I think it kind of like points out the fact that, once Trump got into office, people's priorities shifted and we kind of got moved down on that priority line. And the reason that I say that is because I'm pretty sure that if this was a Black nurse breaking the bones of white babies, this would be a priority. This would be front page news. This would be like in the headlines. But it's the other way around. So it's just not going to get the attention that I feel
Well,
it deserves.
honestly, I'm ashamed that I didn't know about it. This is a important, serious story. It's a tragic story. And I know the first TikTok I will do tomorrow morning will be on this topic. I'm going to read up on it. And people do need to know about this, whether you're white or black or fucking whatever color. And maybe that's something we have to look at going into the next 4 years. Um, it's one thing to try to take Donald Trump down. Everybody wants to do that. But maybe if we ignore much of what he does and focus on these important stories, maybe that will be effective against this fucking clown too. Because these stories this story needs, everybody needs to know this story. This woman should be reviled, should be punished, and she should never see the light of day. There's just no excuse for this type of behavior. And the thing about it is I'm guessing this kind of thing happens all the time. And that's the tragedy of it. We've got sick fucking people out there doing crazy, stupid stuff, and everybody's worried about what Donald Trump wants to name the Gulf of Mexico. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that what got her caught was just her how prolific she was with it. I will say though that that hospital is closed down as NICU. And I guess from the last time that I checked on it, they were wanting to like install more cameras and different things like that to keep track. I was befuddled by that because I'm like, this is a NICU in a
Yeah.
hospital with some of the sickest babies. I don't understand why they don't have a security system. I don't understand why they don't have cameras that could have caught that. The To me, like the most disgusting part about all of it was the fact that she was suspended paid leave for an entire year and then they allowed her to come back. I did not think that any hospital would allow something like that to go on, but at least they closed down the NICU. And the families are just trying to fight for justice for their children, and hopefully those other cases they can go ahead and get those stacked up and she can get charged with all of the babies that she injured. um, I couldn't imagine being like, you're getting ready to be a grandfather, like how would you feel if your grandson went through that? You know what I mean?
I would fuck some people up, literally. I'm a 64, going to be 65-year-old man. I may not be as strong as I used to. I may not be as fast as I used to, but I'm meaner than I was back in the day. And I'd be fucking creative about how I handled that shit. Or any baby for that matter. I would be just as angry if a friend of mine's or a neighbor's or a colleague or something like that had to go through this. There's just no explanation and uh, no reason for this stuff. It's just fucking sickness. And then, well, let me ask you this: when they suspended her, was it publicly known that she was doing this?
Not that I'm aware of. We didn't even hear about it until she came back after her suspension, and then she got arrested for the one that they can get her on like right now. And I think that the reason they got her on that one right now is because it's like, okay, we need to like get her off the streets, so we can get her for this right now, and then we can build a case for everything else. So I'm thinking that because I think it was like the end of December or something like that when she charged. It takes a while sometime for this type of stuff to leak out. But yeah, they just let her come back.
Well,
I'm
what I'm thinking is the hospital saw
oh
this
yeah,
happening and didn't want to make any big deal out of it because it would reflect on them. So
yeah,
instead, they try to cover it up. If they fire her, then there's going to have to be an explanation. So they put her on suspension with pay to keep her mouth shut and then bring her back, and hopefully it's all better. This sounds like a cover up by the hospital. That fucking hospital should be shut down.
yeah. Typically, when it's like those angel of death nurses, whether they're in like a nursing home or a hospital, typically when they find out that they are either killing patients or doing things to patients, um, they will, instead of like firing them, they will give them the option to resign, and then they'll go somewhere else and do it. Sometimes they will even say, we'll give you a good reference, but just leave here. This is like the first time that I've seen a
Wow.
hospital let somebody like that come back. Typically, it's like, okay, you could either resign or we're going to fire you. If you resign, you can resign with a reference. But if we have to fire you, then, it'll be these other consequences that comes along with that. This is the first time that I saw them allow somebody to come back into their hospital in a NICU with babies. It is, I still can't wrap my mind around it, but I think by the end of this era, I'm not going to be surprised by anything.
Yeah, you're probably right. And any stories like this that you hear that you don't think are getting exposure, please bring them here. We can put it out in the podcast. I'll do a TikTok on it. That story right there, um, of all the stories I heard today or the last week, and there's some big stories. The most repulsive, the most important story is the one you just told us. And the fact that that's not getting coverage, I'm ashamed that I didn't know about it, and everybody else either knows about it, isn't doing anything about it, or just doesn't know. And that's rather sick in this country when small children are being injured purposely, habitually, and we can't find time to report that. That's a pretty fucked up world.
Yeah, I like creators, I don't really blame them for not knowing about the story because they don't know what goes on in other cities or states
Right.
unless it's making headlines. So if you don't know it happened, you can't report on it. It's just like when you look at like legacy media, the things that they prioritize, already there's a shift in that prioritizing. So I'm always like, I think this is true for everybody. But in particular, when I talk to my community, when I say like, hey, we all we got, this is what I mean. Like, this is we all we got right now. We have to depend on each other, lean on each other, and build communities with each other, because it's not going to get any easier. We're not going to have
Right.
any higher priority anytime soon right now. And we have to prepare for what's coming next. And I always say, like, I know with Donald Trump, he's maybe only be able to do a third of what it is that he wants to do or whatever. But within that third, people are going to struggle. we're going to struggle maybe 5, 10 times as worse as that next person. We're even seeing places like McDonald's rolling back DEI programs. We're seeing the healthcare field. I don't know if you heard about this, but Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy is trying to expand the H-1B visas into healthcare, which will replace our nurses and their support staff. And I mean, we already have a lot of foreigners that's doctors, but they really do want to take us out of the healthcare industry as far as when it comes to treating people right now. Um, I think that people really do need to learn how to like get together and brace themselves of what's coming. And instead of saying, okay, he can't do this, he can't do that, try to say, okay, what he can do, how is this going to affect me? And how can we best get together to kind of soften that landing as much as possible? It's going to be hard, but it doesn't have to be as hard as it is if we wait until the last minute. And I don't try to kill anybody's hopes that something's going to happen before January 20th or any of that. If a miracle happens and he's not in there, cool. But in the meantime, you need to make plans for that administration. And if you're starting today, you are already late. You need to start doing that like yesterday.
Yeah, you're right about that. A lot of people spend a lot of time speculating. We are waiting for him to take office, and we're all
Yeah.
speculating on what might be or what could be. But we should be more focused and on the attack per se to deal with these situations. Um, Whether something happens between now and January 20th, I'm skeptical of that. I've said that before. If it does, great. If it doesn't, I'm not going to be surprised. But if nothing happens between now and January 20th, you're exactly right. We clearly can't count on the judicial system. We clearly can't count on Congress, both Republicans and especially Democrats. So this is a time that's kind of important for all of us. We are all going to have to fight for what is best for us, for that story that you just told, for our own health and welfare. We,
Yeah.
as you've said, are kind of on our own right now. And we can't cry about that. We've got to fucking buckle down and fucking do something about it. We've got to be loud. We've got to be forceful, and we've got to be demanding of what we want and what we deserve. I think you make a great point. Now's not the time to wonder what's going to happen. We need to start making shit happen.
Yeah. We can't drive if our eyes are not on the road. And I use that analogy because how are we going to push back? How are we going to, resist this administration if we're too worried about how am I going to pay for daycare? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? You're trying to figure out all this other stuff and push back at the same time. That's
Right.
not going to work. You need to have your plan in place. You need to know everything is cool and you're not distracted with stuff that you could have taken care of months ago. You can just automatically start pushing back and doing what it is that you need to do. It sucks, and sometimes you you might have to, hit up that TT that you ain't talked to in a couple of years because she bougie and get on your nerves. But all of that stuff, it does not matter when you're trying to do what's best for yourself and your children. And I think people really do need to start focusing on that instead of what he can do, what he can't do, all that stuff. But it's not going to help you when he's in office and you're scrambling and you're trying to do stuff. It's not going to work that way.
Well, I think most people would agree with me who listen to the show and who know you that you're a doer. You're not really a talker. You're a doer. And you're talking about working together to put yourself in a position to push back. I know you're doing a lot of organizing in your community, and we've talked about it before, but I want you to explain what's going on there. It might give some people some ideas for their own community so we can put ourselves in a good position to fight back.
Yeah, we have like a neighborhood app. I think most neighborhood has those, especially if you have an HOA or any kind of like apartment complex or whatever. Just put there like, that you're looking for a community, however you want to broadcast it, looking for neighbors that could watch each other's children while you're at work, or if there's a neighbor that can maybe pick them up from the bus stop and watch them for a couple hours in between the break time of you coming from work and coming home. And then we also just like knocked on doors and was just like, hey, do you have children here? Like, we're trying to help each other save on like daycare costs and after school costs. We're trying to get like a group of us together so that we can help each other out right now since time is tough. And that's how we were selling it to it. I was kind of disappointed that we only got like a couple of white families in there. The rest of us is like black and brown. But it's a really good community. It works if, especially if you have senior citizens in your neighborhood anywhere, even if there's like you know how sometimes they have like those senior complexes, that would be like the perfect place. People are retired, they feel like alone by themselves, they don't really get out much. If you
Right.
knocked on a senior's door and told them like this is what you're trying to do, you're having a hard time like making ends meet right now because your childcare costs or whatever, I guarantee you will not be worried about daycare anytime soon. We since we've been here, we went to this is so gross, but we went to one of these uh big evangelical churches because one of the volunteers, she took us there just to show how gross that church was. And it was pretty gross. It was pretty gross. They told her that because right now she's paying for her children to do like an after school program at the church. She's paying for that. They're not watching her children for free. But anyway, we went to the church. We were like saying how jacked up this is. But then there was another woman who overheard us talking. And she was like, hey, aren't you so and so's mom? She's like, yeah. And she's like, well, I work the graveyard shift. You work the day shift, right? And so she was just like, yeah. And so they kind of came together to where she was like, when you go to work, drop the kids off at my house. And then in the morning, I'll get them off to school. Like they made those type of arrangements. And I was just like, y'all both kind of struggling to pay bills. Like, don't do it right away. But if you get along, your kids get along, y'all kind of feeling each other. Instead of like paying for two different apartments, you guys can maybe like rent one place out together. So you're not shuffling the kids back and forth between the daytime shift and then your graveyard shift.
Right.
And they seem open to that too. So even if you do go to a church and they're not helping you with childcare, there's other people within that church that could use childcare, and you can get together and work it out. Like you could help each other out. Ours, I can't take credit for that. That's Pat. We have our older kids that pick up, they have like their certain days where they go to the bus stop, they get the younger kids, they take them to like the clubhouse of this apartment complex that most of them live at, and they have their snacks, they do their homework, and then they hang out until their parents get off work and come and pick them up. There were children that were like in daycare. They're not even in daycare anymore. In the morning, they go to one senior's house, they have their breakfast, they do like the alphabets, flashcards. I think right now they're learning how to spell their names. And then after that, they go to another senior's house, they have like their little nap time, and then they get up and they do arts and crafts. And then by the time the school age children are getting off the bus, then they go to the clubhouse and like hang out with them until the parents come home. So the seniors, they're not taking like full shifts with these kids, but I thought maybe they were doing, but like they have certain days that they watch them like a half a day. And that's pretty much how they do it. And so far, so good. Even JJ with his little bad self.
Well, and the seniors, like you say, they're in their golden years. They don't have a lot going on. They feel kind of maybe unappreciated or underutilized, and this is a
Yeah.
chance for them to participate and add some value to the community and to these young people and to give them something to do. And I got to tell you, I'm an old guy. I'm going to be 65, and I hang out with my granddaughter. And yes, after 3 or 4 hours, it is fucking tiring, but it is
Mm-hmm.
the best time I ever have being able to spend time with some kids, and I'm sure they
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, they have certain days. The only one senior I know that's consistent is the one that does in the afternoon the naps with them, and then when they get up, they do their arts and crafts. She does it like 5 days a week, and I think like one mom, she like works on the weekends, she does it on the weekends too. But other than that, there's only like certain days that they do it, so it's not like every single day or whatever. And if somebody has something coming up, they can just swap days however they have it figured out. Pat has this thing organized like her organization skills is crazy. And then another thing that we are doing is like supporting the children. So if they have a soccer game, a football game, whatever on the weekends, we all go to that game. because sometimes their parents can't get off work and go. So we all go to the game. We also show support. The little kids, they always excited to see the older kids scoring goals or whatever. But just to be there to support them, because their parents work a lot. Some of these parents work like 2 jobs, which is crazy. But, you just got to be there for each other. Because right now, Trump's idea of childcare, I believe he said childcare is childcare and it's really not that expensive. I believe that was his plan on childcare. And if you're trying to count on that to help you pay your bills and take care of your children, that ain't gonna work. You got to put yourself out
So,
there.
so essentially, you're building a community within the community,
Mm-hmm.
and it's obviously very effective. Everybody, it's a win-win for everybody. That's why it works so well. But the point I want to make is, a lot of people will say, "Well, somebody's got to do something. You should do this. You should do that." This is a time when everybody needs to do something, even if it's a little bit. You got
Yeah.
an old couple living in a retirement place, and what they can do is watch a few kids for a couple hours twice a week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's enough. Whatever you can do, it's helpful in the process. And I think, when we're looking ahead of what's going on, this is a time when people need to come together and work together. And in this society nowadays in 2025, it's not like it was in the 60s. That kind of
Yeah.
thing happened all the time in the 60s. Hey, I got to go to the doctor. We'll watch my kids while I'm away to the next door neighbor. We did that all the time, but that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
happen anymore. So somebody has to instigate it. And you're quite the instigator. So we need to find instigators in these communities to bring back this concept. It's almost like the barter system to a certain extent, but with duties as opposed to products.
Yeah, and you could do it. I left that out. You could do it safely. Like we went to our police station. It was like, hey, this is what we're trying to do. And then we had like a little meeting or whatever. The officers came, they talked to everybody, and they filled out like background forms and everything. So we were, and if there was any, because there was a couple of people who was like, I ain't filling out no background check, blah, blah, blah. Then it's like, okay, you on your own. Because we can't just be leaving children with anybody. And then it's not even the adults being left with the children, it's the seniors, but still at the same time, that was the safest way to do it. And it's pretty cool. We do barter stuff. Like I have a bread maker. I'm always making dough, dropping off like loaves of bread and stuff to different families. Marisol, she has like almost like this greenhouse in her backyard. She's always like fruits, vegetables, that type of stuff. Her I've never like ate like a raw bell pepper before, but it tastes different than the ones in the store. It's actually pretty good. And there's different things. Like one of the parents, he has like a Costco card or whatever. And he's always like for their snacks in the afternoon. Since he joined our group, we have not had to buy snacks for these kids at all. He just gets like those big old things of like snacks, sandwiches, juices, whatever. And they always have their snacks. They always have breakfast before they get on the bus in the morning. We just make sure that they okay, and we support each other, and that's what we're supposed to do. I have family, Uncle Alex, who used to be like Black Panther back in the day, and so when you grow up and you hear about that type of stuff, it's like, well, why are we not doing that anymore? And we could always do it. We can bring it back. It didn't have to die with that movement, which it kind of feels like it did, but it didn't have to.
It's ironic is that you've been able to pull this off in your community, and other people, no doubt, have done this in our community. It's
Mm-hmm.
easy enough for you to pull this off. I mean, it takes work, but you can get it done. Somehow, our government, with billions of dollars, can't fucking do it without some pushback.
Yeah, I don't have any special interest.
Yeah,
I
well,
just
that's true.
I don't have any special interest. Um, I think that is something that I don't even think this is something that the government would want to do if you think about it. When this was happening back in the day, they always tried to like break it up and all this other stuff. I don't even think this is something that they would want to do because that's just one less avenue of income for a certain group of people in this country. And they don't want us to take away, you know, their livelihood or however you want to look at it. But I look at it as nobody want to be paying $1,200 a month for childcare either when your
Right.
rent is 12, which is it's kind of insane. And we had one girl. I wasn't gonna say nothing, but she had her. I didn't even know she had a boyfriend. He was just there. I thought maybe he was like a roommate or something.
Right.
But when she didn't have to have anybody to like watch the kids after school, she kicked him out. Like she was like, I spent so much money on daycare. That's all he was there for. But she was like, yeah, he gone. I'm good. And her son was happy, like, oh, I get my room back.
So, are you worried about being in any daycare Facebook group hit list? Because you're costing them some money now.
Bring it. I don't care. I'm not I'm not that type of person that scares off easily. But yeah, yeah, that type of stuff it don't worry me at all. I don't care. You shouldn't I don't understand why one child you're paying like $600 a week for a child or $400 a week from a child, whatever it is. I know that one person, I think she was paying like 300 a week, and that was with a government voucher. The
Wow.
voucher didn't cover the whole cost of daycare. And she was like, they'll only cover the whole cost if I'm unemployed. But how do you get on your feet if you still got to pay this much money in daycare? She was like, I guess you kind of don't. But I think that anybody can do it. Just put yourself out there. If you don't want to knock on doors, put it on your neighborhood app or put it in a Facebook group or something. I don't know the social media like that, but there's options to put yourself out there, and you'll be surprised how many people really do need that kind of help. You'll be
Yeah,
surprised. Just
I think a lot of times people who have two jobs and kids to watch, they
yeah,
sometimes internalize and they think I'm the only one with this problem. And
mhm,
unfortunately, there's tons and tons of people with these problems. And there's got to be a middle person to put these people together and go, oh my God, you work night shift, I work day shift. We can work this
mhm,
out. It's as simple as that.
yeah,
Making the entree. And most people are afraid of just walking up to somebody and say, "Hey, I got an idea." And it's a scary situation, but desperate times call for desperate measures. And a lot of times, what you're doing now, um, you're taking people who may never have met in their whole lives and may end up being lifelong friends because of their shared experience here. That's amazing.
yeah. I think so. Like half the people in our community, like I wouldn't, I like I've seen them out sometimes, but I never knew what they were going through. Like the one woman I told you about who breastfeeds for women who can't breastfeed and they can't afford formula. No idea that there was somebody in my community who did something like that. No idea.
I
And
had
you
no
just
idea anybody did that.
me either. I thought she was breastfeeding her son at first. I'm like this is almost a little grown man over here. But yeah,
Yeah.
she for because some babies have like so many allergies and stuff like that that they're pretty susceptible to that, and those type of formulas are so expensive. But if you have someone who could just pump and make sure that your baby is taken care of for that first year or so, um, that's so important because without it, how else would you afford this formula? Like, what are you going to do? I found out that a lot of these WIC vouchers and stuff, they don't even cover that type of stuff. So it's insane to me how I had it hard when my daughter was younger, but I won't complain about having it hard again because what these younger parents are going through right now is like insane, absolutely insane. It's crazy to me.
I remember when we used to buy a can of isomil or something, formula for the kids, and it cost like $13 a can, and that was a lot. We had to go
Mm-hmm.
into the couch cushions and find $13 just to feed the kid, and now these things they're putting them behind the counter, locked up, and they're like $60 a can. I
Yeah.
cannot believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got to be gouging something because there's no way that this powdered shit costs $60 a fucking can. And then I read a story, and then my brother said he experienced it too. There's these scammers that go out and they'll get in front of somebody like my brother. Looks like he has a couple bucks, and she's got like three or four cans of this formula type stuff, and she can't pay for it. So the
Oh
guy
yeah.
behind so the guy behind her feels
Mm-hmm.
bad. Her poor mom can't buy food for her baby, and the mom is there. And
Yeah.
so he goes to pay for it. Before he knows he's done, he's paid like $200 for this stuff. And the woman and the baby just bolt the fuck out of there, and he's stuck with the bill.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen those scams too. It's insane that we used to have a Congress that cared about stuff like that. I was at Wells Fargo when Elizabeth Warren took the banks to task for opening those fraudulent accounts for
Right.
their customers. I was there when they did the hearings in regards to the EpiPens and how do you make the EpiPen cost mark up 1,200%. And
Right.
this isn't like a vitamin. Like children, people really do need EpiPens so that they don't go into anaphylactic shock and they could pass away because they don't have an EpiPen. I don't know if you know who Farron Cousins is, but he
I
always
do.
said his son had EpiPens that were expired. Like he couldn't even afford to get an up-to-date EpiPen because it's like $600 per pen at that time. And I think it went up after that. And when your child needs an EpiPen, they most likely need one in their backpack, one in a nurse's office, one at your house. God forbid that you're divorced, another pen for their father's house. Or you know what I mean? Like
Right.
how are you expecting for people to pay this much for an EpiPen when it only costs you $50 to make it? It's crazy, but we used to have a Congress that would actually investigate things like that. And I get sad when I think about Kamala Harris because she was just itching to have hearings on price gouging from companies like Walmart. And she really wanted to hold their feet to the fire. Okay, so why did you mark this? Why did you mark this up? And she wanted to come out with legislation that would stop them from doing that. But instead, we are getting ready to get hearings because Trump wants to drag E. Jean Carroll on the floor of Congress, and he wants to investigate Hunter and Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. It's we are definitely going to take a back seat here. We're not going to be a priority, and I think we have to face that fact and just put our heads down, do what we need to do, and get through it, and push back as much as we can. It,
Absolutely. And apparently Republicans have no use for EpiPens or baby formula because they're all on board. They vote for this dumb motherfucker.
yeah, it's I'm at a loss for words to see the. I think I don't know what to say. I think the best part, I wasn't feeling TikTok at first, and then when I saw the brown letters go out, I reached out to Will to check on him, see how he was doing. And yesterday, TJ reached out to me to check on me to see how I was doing. And it's crazy because like I was in a bad mood and he allowed me to get that out. And that's what we were talking about. Like the things that were supposed to be important to them, all of a sudden Trump is in there and it's not important to them anymore, but the supporters are not prioritizing it either. They're not saying F Greenland, what about our groceries? What about my gas
Right.
prices? What about my car insurance? What the hell are you talking about? That's not what you ran on. That's like they are all for it. And we were talking about that, like how I think that they're proud to be idiots. I really do think so. Oh, we don't like
Does seem
woke.
like it.
You don't have to go to college. You don't have to try to get higher education. They think they're better than everybody else. Not realizing that the people telling them that they don't need an education are all Ivy League graduates. All of their children are in Ivy League colleges, schools. They're across the country going to boarding schools. They are being educated. When was the last time you seen any of these people ban books at their children's private schools? But they're going to come to an
Right.
underfunded public school and take all of this books up out of here. And they are completely fine with it. So it's like this willful ignorance, and they are proud of it. They are so proud of that. And we were talking about that with TJ yesterday. So if you're listening, I'm happy he let me vent that yesterday because it's insane to watch them not care about none of that.
When you say you were
None of,
talking to TJ, were you guys on a live with Eric or something?
no, we sent each other like DM messages.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's weird.
I guess I'm creating a little community too.
Yeah, I wasn't into TikTok. I told you about that first experience with that shower head ad. I was baffled. But I found a good spot about it is certain people that I care for that I don't deal with in my day to day life. I could reach out and check on them, and TJ checked on me too. So that was a good thing that I saw about TikTok.
Absolutely. Now, old soul, you said something that I think we need to talk about a little bit. You sent me text messages on this. I did a TikTok on it. I didn't go in depth in it, but it's appalling. But the term you used was brown roundup letter. Why don't you explain to the folks what that is and how fucking egregious it is?
There's a letter that was circulated. It started in Oregon, but it's pretty much spread right now, where they were telling people, because I don't know if most people notice or not, but Trump's border czar, one of the things that he wants to do in assisting with rounding up immigrants is kind of like throughout the country set up these like tip lines. And
Yeah.
so someone started circulating, they called it like the Brown Roundup letter. It started in Oregon, and they were urging citizens to, if you see immigrants, which basically is just brown people, write down their license plates. And they wanted you to go to churches where immigrants congregate at, schools. I think one of the lines in the letter was, if you're sitting outside the school waiting on the kiddos or grand kiddos, and you see a brown person, write down their license plate number. Grocery stores, in your neighborhood, anywhere you see brown people, start documenting those license plate numbers and addresses. And then that way, once the border czar sets up his tip lines, you could just call in the tip line with all of the intel that you gathered and report those people to be um, detained.
So they're, I mean, just the idea of tipping off the government to illegal immigrants. That's that has shades of the Germans in the 30s with the Jews in that country. It's just fucking terrible. But what you're saying is they're saying let's just be safe and let's just report every brown person we see just in case. Now, many of those might be actual citizens, but it doesn't matter. They're brown and they're suspect. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, they some of the government or governors in certain states, they're not on board with letting, their national guards people into the streets. So they were saying that citizens can volunteer and use the tip line to help round these people up.
Oh,
And people were looking at it as, like Hispanic people, because we were like, a lot of people in my community was like, hey, you know what, like, this isn't cool. And then
no.
on some videos that I saw, some of the racist people would just say, "This, you think you safe because you black? All I gotta do is call the tip line and say it's a bunch of Haitians living next door to me, and they gonna round your ass up too." So I was seeing stuff like that in the comment sections, and then they were just, when you get rounded up, just figure it out. I've seen people say, carry your papers on you, and you don't have to worry about it, which means carry your birth certificate and your social security card on you. So, if they do try to round you up, you could just show them your papers. And I think we all know where that came from.
Yeah. Well, I think I think if we get to that point where people have to carry papers around just to exist in this country, um, I think there comes a point where there starts to be pushback and fighting, and it's going to be precipitated by these racist, misogynistic, anti-Semitic, whatever you want to fucking call them. There are people in this country that aren't going to tolerate that, and I'm talking about people of color and white people too. And the people of color have to understand that there are white people out there that aren't going to tolerate this either. And there will be pushback and there will be some violence because of this sort of thing, because this is turning our country into something that it never has been, not in recent times anyway, and not something that people want it to turn into. I've said before, if Donald Trump got elected president, I think there's more chance for violence, and just this kind of behavior could precipitate that kind of violence.
Yeah, it's the second letter that they've circulated. You remember the slavery one right after he got elected, and now
Right.
it's this one. And anytime you try to tell these people that it's a distraction, like you focused on rounding up brown people and reporting, neighbors and stuff like that because you don't like their skin color, um, instead of worrying about those promises that he made, instead of worrying about your life being made easier, you're distracted by this over here. Um, they don't see it like that because their racism is what drove them to vote for him in the first place. So they're not really worried about that. So that's what they're focused on. They're kind of like giddy and excited for the opportunity to do that. So we just have to try to stick together as much as possible and stay safe and teach our children to stay safe. Um, because that's the situation we're in right now. We got to figure out how to live like that.
We all do. We all do, regardless of color. Anybody of a reasonable mind and a decent heart have to be in a position to stop something like this. I mean, there comes a point when people have to act, um, and we just can't stand still. And it's like what there's that old thing. They came and took somebody, and I didn't say anything, and they took somebody else, and I didn't say anything, and then finally they came to get me, and there was nobody to say anything. And that's how it is. We can't be quiet about this. We can't be passive about it. We've
Mm-hmm.
got to be bold, and we've got to be assertive, maybe even aggressive. I mean, I have a little colder heart than you do. Like when I hear about this woman who is breaking the bones of babies, my first thought goes to somebody needs to kneel her down and kill her execution style. And I'm not exaggerating here. This is a worthless human being who's nothing but a danger to the society. We need to be rid of those kind of people. And unfortunately, the uh, the people of the MAGA race, we should call them a race, and we should hunt MAGA and maybe not do something as terrible as they might do to us, but make it very uncomfortable for them and run them out of wherever the fuck they are. They can go down to deep South Alabama, fucking hide under a rock, but you can't come in this area because there's going to be trouble.
Yeah, I think that what we taught them, not like on a personal level, but just as a country as a whole, what we taught them is that the lawlessness is going to be accepted with pretty much no punishment, especially if you roll in with Trump. I know that some of these people think that if they cross state lines and commit certain crimes, that it'll become a felony and they could just let Trump pardon them or whatever it is. They
Right.
are pretty much emboldened by us not holding Trump accountable. That's the example that we set for them. And they are taking full advantage of that. Like they don't feel the need to hide from it. They're not embarrassed by it. I mean, they're cowards because most of the time when you look at these comments, they don't even show their face, but
No,
um,
they're
they feel that
gutless.
it's okay to like openly verbalize that type of stuff. And when you look at companies who are like rolling back DEI programs, it's reaffirming to them that any black or brown person that they had wasn't qualified and they only hired them in the first place because of their skin color. So the things that they are seeing that's allowed to be gotten away with, they're taking the lesson from it that yeah, we could do this. This is,
Yeah.
like they always like to say our country, like the rest of us don't matter. But I think we emboldened them by not holding Trump accountable. And they didn't get to see any consequences. They don't get to see what happens if you try this crap. This is what's going to
Yeah.
happen to you. There's no example that was set for them other than you can do whatever the hell you want to and get away with it. Even though we know that poor white people, they're not going to get treated any better than I would, but that's how they see it. That's how they see
Yeah.
it.
But don't you feel like this could uh, create violence in this country? Because people on the left, people of color, they're not
Yeah.
going to just stand there and take it. It's just not. I can't believe that. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's going to stand up and fight, but there will be people that do, and these Trumplafucks aren't going to get through this easily. I don't want to see that, but if that's all that's left open to people to fight back, that's what we're going to get.
They are sorely mistaken. The people that they hold up as strong men, don't listen to them, look at their actions. We're seeing Elon Musk walk around with children on his shoulders and in front of him because he feels like if somebody takes a shot at him, they will hesitate if he has a child with him. This fool is using his children as a shield.
Absolutely, absolutely, and
There's no courage in
you
there's nothing
you
encouraging about that. Donald Trump is a keyboard warrior. He will not dare say any of this thing to anybody's face. And if you think he would, go back and watch that debate with Kamala Harris, and then go back and watch when he met her at the 9/11 memorial. And see if
right.
he said all that smoke that he was saying online to her face. He would not dare. These are some of the most weak, thin skinned, little pricks I've ever seen in my life. And don't even get me started on Jesse Waters because I seen that man walk. He don't walk, he switched. And so why anybody would think that that's a manly man that you should be taking that kind of advice for, get the hell out of here. Even when you go to the January 6th tapes, they were like running, hoping that the Capitol Police protected them. We saw Republican congressmen laying down on the floor, cuddled up. They weren't brave. They weren't trying to do anything to save themselves or their colleagues. They were just more scared than anybody there. But
Yeah,
these are the men that's going to encourage you to do violence and then act in a certain way. And when your butt get held to the fire, none of them are going to be there to save you because Donald Trump had from January 6th to January 20th to pardon these people that he set up to that Capitol, and he didn't do it. He didn't do
right,
it because he
right.
thought that if he did that, he would get impeached. So he will never choose them over himself. They have yet to see that, but they will learn that lesson.
Yeah,
And
one of the things he said was that as soon day one he's going to do a lot of stuff, the tariffs, the deportation, but he's also going to pardon the January 6 people. I beg to differ. I don't think he will. I don't think the Republicans will help him to do that, and I think that there's nothing in it for him. He's very transactional. If he's going to get something out of it, then he might do it, but he doesn't need the votes. He doesn't need their support. He doesn't need them at all. So fuck them. And I have a feeling he's not going to release these people. He might release one or two just to say, see what I did, but he's not going to release all these people. They don't mean anything to him, and there's no money on the table for him to do it.
I think those January Sixers, the insurrectionists, their fate is not in the hands of Donald Trump. Their fate is in the hands of Stephen Miller, Elon Musk, people like that that's behind the scenes really running the show. Yeah, I know
Yeah, maybe
Enrique
right.
Torrio has been like writing letters to Trump trying to ask like, can he please pardon him? He writing the letters to the wrong person.
Yeah,
Donald Trump is in charge of that. Donald Trump is in charge of stirring up crap and keeping people distracted while the architects behind the scene are trying to enact their agenda. I don't think Donald Trump cares about none of this crap. And I think these like wild goose chases that he's going on with all these other countries and stuff like that, I do think a lot of that has been given to him and like make him feel important, like he's really doing something. He's creating a distraction for his base, but the other people behind the scenes are like sending Trump on these little distractions and quests and stuff like that.
well, and they might be doing it to set him up to look crazy to ultimately get rid of him.
They ain't got
They
to
need
try
to.
too much harder.
No, they don't. From our regard. Now, you just came back from England, the
Yeah,
UK, and you have a friend over in the UK
yeah.
that you
I'm sorry, trying to
communicate.
charge my phone because it's going like my battery dying. Okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. No, well, you said during the break that you were hearing from your friend in the UK
Yeah.
something about Elon Musk, and Elon Musk is one of these people that is powerful because he has money, but he's a fucking goofball. He's a racist. He's a Nazi. He's all these things. But you didn't tell me the whole story. I said wait till we're on the show to tell me the story because it sounds fucking crazy.
Well, what he did was told King Charles openly um, to break up Parliament and to single handedly rule the country by himself. Like, that's the basic way that I can explain it where Americans will get it. But that's what he is saying. And he has also threatened that if King Charles did not do what he is telling him to do, that America, which means our military, our troops, the people that we care about, are going to liberate the British. That's the threat that he made to King Charles.
So he threatened the King of England,
Yes, sir.
and he tried to leverage him by saying he should break up the political basis of the
Yes.
UK because while the King of England does have some impact on politics, they aren't really politicians.
No, we have Congress, they have Parliament.
Right. They have parliament. And the king is there. I'm not very well educated about royalty because I just don't give a fuck about royalty. But they're almost more of a figurehead, ceremonial type thing, as I understand it. They do have some sway over politicians, and prime ministers come to meet them and stuff, and they give them some directions, but they don't run the country. They grift the country,
Oh, yeah.
but I mean, they're some of the richest people in the world. They're probably richer than Elon Musk. And that's what I'm saying. Elon Musk is threatening the King of England, who has probably more money than Elon Musk. You just don't know it. How long does Elon Musk last doing that kind of shit?
Telling King Charles to dissolve Parliament is like,
And you better or
or
else
America will liberate the British. I didn't even know that people wanted to be liberated because they don't. The
they
crazy thing,
love the royalty.
if nothing else, the scandals that come with the royal
Yeah,
family. Uh,
exactly.
what we have done, and I was talking to my friend about this, is not like on a personal level, but we as a country, as a whole, as a collective, has made the world's richest man through government contracts, through
Right.
deregulating for him, and all of this other crap that we did to give him his wealth. We have emboldened him and empowered him. And Elon Musk is like straight up going around throughout the world buying governments, threatening governments, telling them what they will and won't do. And if they don't do it, then America will respond forcefully, which means our military will do that. That is what he is just going around trying to buy up governments. We see in Germany, he is over there trying to hype up the Nazi party and get them in power. We see him coming over here to England. When I was talking to my friend about it, she was like, I don't understand why he is saying dissolve parliament and single handedly rule. And I was telling her the same reason why he would want the Nazi regime to rise up in Germany, because he wants to cause a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion. He wants to divide the country. And then once that happens, he has a bigger sway or a bigger input because it's divide and conquer. He has done that in the US. And now he is going from country to country trying to do the exact same thing. And I never want to hear about the Logan Act ever again in my
I don't
life.
either.
Because
Nobody's ever been, I don't know of anybody who's charged with it.
how in the world is he getting away with saying, if you don't do this, this is how America is going to respond?
Right.
How is he getting away with that? Why is he being allowed to do that? It is beyond me why people just do not care about that. You think for 1 minute that the base cares about the H-1B visas, and then the moment Trump starts talking about another country and all this other kind of crap, they immediately get distracted. They were so mad at Elon Musk. We didn't vote for you. You all this other kind of crap. They were going after him hard. Now all of a sudden, poof, they ain't really worried about that like that anymore. It is
Yeah.
insane that he is being allowed to get away with this. Um,
Well,
it,
there's an investigation going on in the EU about his meddling in some of the elections over there. Now he's
yeah,
got no immunity. He's got no sway in those countries other than what money he has. But let's be honest. If the right people get into Congress, they could break that motherfucker in a minute by canceling every one of his government contracts. That
yeah,
could devastate him. And that's what somebody needs to do, actually. If anybody has any balls, and I'll be honest with you, the Republicans may be starting to get tired of him too. So he may not be safe. He better carry about 10 kids around him because he's going to need that coverage.
yeah. You see how he pretty much brought the presidency here in the US
Pretty
and then
much.
go to like parliament and other countries. You can see the people that he amplifies on social media from other countries. None of these people are good people. Not one of them. They all are racist, white nationalists. The freedoms that they have, they want to toss that out and adopt the American way of doing it. I saw the woman, I can't remember her name, from Canada today, and I was cracking up when she was like, no, we like our free healthcare. However, there is someone out there in Canada who he is giving money to who wants to go to the American health system because that's the best way to do it. He's out there trying to say things like, you have to wait a long time for doctor's appointments because we have a single payer health system. It won't be like that if we adopt the American system. He is like infiltrating these type of people within governments around the world and funding them, helping them gain power. Once they get into a position where they can bring him in and he can have sway and influence like he does here in America, that is what he is doing. The unfortunate part about this is most Americans don't pay attention to international policy or international news or how we influence other countries. And so, like, nobody is sounding the alarm on it because they just don't know better. But you will be
Yeah.
surprised, like, how what goes on here affects other countries, especially when it comes to Elon Musk. It is insane what this man is doing. It is
Well,
absolutely insane.
people like to compare Donald Trump to Hitler. Okay. And he is dangerous in this country. No
Yeah,
question about it. He's the most dangerous person in this country now and ever, ever. Nobody's been more dangerous than he is. But I personally think that Elon Musk is
yeah,
more dangerous on an international level because what
yeah,
he's doing is he's trying to have influence over different countries, including the United States, which smells of Hitler trying to take over country after country after country. He's
yeah.
doing it in a different way, not through wars, but through money and influence and threats and those sorts of things. He's a dangerous guy. And even if America won't do anything about Elon Musk,
Yeah.
I got to believe there are some people in Europe that have a target on his back. They're going to
Yeah.
take him down one way or another because you can't do that. You can't fuck with Elon Musk may have a lot of money, but Germany's not going to tolerate that shit. Britain's not going to tolerate that shit. Um, he's going to have some problems if he keeps flapping his mouth, and he doesn't seem to be able to keep it shut for very long.
Yeah. I think what the goal is, they know that, and at TJ, he actually texted this in the DM yesterday, that a lot of people in America, they don't understand that Donald Trump nor Elon Musk can just come out and pull us out of NATO. They can't do that.
No,
It has to go through Congress first. Um,
absolutely, and nobody will do that. Not even Republicans.
right. However, what they can do is they could invade one of our allies. They could invade a sovereign nation. And when they do that, it would require for NATO to respond. So if
Yeah,
you can't pull us out of NATO, then what we can do is do everything we can to turn them against us and, kick us out of NATO or whatever the master plan is. From me looking at it from the outside in with international friends, I see that is what they're doing right now. They are poking at our allies. They are aligning themselves with our enemies. And I think that this is going to be their way to get us out of NATO if our elected officials allow them to do so.
I don't think Donald Trump. I mean, there's enough people in the Republican Party that understand the necessity of NATO and the importance of NATO and our position in NATO. I don't see Donald Trump or Elon Musk lasting long enough in power or whatever to be able to
Mm-hmm.
pull something like that off. I
Yeah.
mean, even Republicans are going to be pushing against that. It's going to be really telling when Donald Trump gets inaugurated as to how Congress and Republicans react. In my mind, like I said, I think he's a liability at this point, and they're going to say, "Fuck you, Donnie. We don't need you anymore. We're going to run this the way we run it, and if we have to throw you out of fucking office to do it, we'll do it." I, and I may be wrong about that, but that seems like the only logical play because going to grab Greenland and take over the Panama Canal, nobody with a reasonable mind seriously thinks that. He's not going to accomplish that. He's not going to pull it off. And to continue pissing off our allies has got to unnerve the fucking Republicans as well.
Yeah. There was someone in the comment section last week, and I'm pretty sure that they didn't mean anything. They just didn't know. But they were asking why we have military in other countries. Like, why do we need a base in Germany? Why do we need a base in Haiti? I believe Haiti was the example that they gave. We need to just bring our troops home. And what I had to say was, we don't have bases there for no reason. We have bases in certain places for intel information. So you have a base in another country. If somebody is trying to plan a terrorist attack or anything like that, we have people there that can foil those plans and stop that from happening. We also use that to gather information, intelligence information, bring that back to our government. So they are there for a reason. They're not there just because we're like, hey, go somewhere. That's not why they're there. They're there for a reason. And the reason is national security. Um, and people don't understand that at all, why we have people there. 9/11, a lot of people don't understand. George W. Bush, he was notified of that. If he understood his briefings, he would have known that. People were warning him, and he did what Donald Trump did during the pandemic. He just tried to ignore it, thinking that it would go away, or maybe thinking it wouldn't be as big or as serious as it was. And then when it did turn out to be serious, okay, yeah, we can just go attack the brown people. And while we are there, let's take some of their resources in the process. That could have been stopped if we would have had Al Gore, for instance, in the White House, who would have taken that threat seriously. But that's the reason that we have bases and military in our other countries, to stop 9/11s from happening. When you attack our allies, and let's say they pull our base and they do bring our soldiers home, who is going to be there to stop that next 9/11?
Right.
Who is going to be
Well,
there? To top it off, if we are isolationists, the way that Musk and Donald Trump and some of these Republican weirdos want to be, we're sitting here on our own. We attacked our allies. So they like, the hell with America, we doing our own thing. So what's going to stop China for women to come in? We don't have no backup. What are we supposed to do? Call Canada and be like, hey, yeah, we know we tried to take your country, but somebody is attacking us. Can you come have our backs now? And Canada's not going to say, yeah, we're going to be there for y'all. That's not going to
no,
happen. So when we go
no.
against our allies and we are sitting here by ourselves, and let's say 2, 3 other countries combine together to attack us, what the hell are we supposed to do? That's the seriousness of what Donald Trump and Elon Musk is doing. And the base are so immature, they could just say, Trump 2024, Trump wins, we're going to own the libs, blah, blah, blah. But that is not going to make sense when you are living in a city and it's getting bombed all the time from another country because Donald Trump and Elon Musk decides to piss off our allies. It's not going to be funny, Trump 2020, then. It's not going to be liberal tears then. It's going to be you and your tears because the democracy that you helped tear down is not there anymore. People don't understand the seriousness of that. They are just so immature, and it's all about owning the libs and bull crap like that. It's so much more serious than that. And I don't think they don't care. I think they are ignorant to it, and they don't want to know, to be honest with you.
If there are people in the comments saying, why do we have troops in other countries and we should pull them back all to America, whether
Yeah.
they are a friend or foe, you are horribly misadvised. You should know better than that. There are strategic reasons for it. Let me ask you this. If you're going to ask me why we have troops in other countries and that's a problem for you, why is giving the Defense Department $1 trillion a year to run their shit not a problem for you? What do you think they're buying? More fucking bullets for $1 trillion? Fuck you. Come on, you got to be smarter than this. I've said before, and people have given me shit about this. I have a very low. I'm tolerant of a lot of things, but I have a very low tolerance of stupid in this world, in this day and age. If you're stupid, it's because you want to be stupid or you're too lazy to learn anything. Have a little curiosity, read something, listen to something, open your mind up instead of this closed little world. Well, we just want to be in our own space and just leave us alone. That's not how the fucking world works. And if you're
Yeah.
not playing the game the way the world plays the game, you're going to get your ass kicked. So fucking read something sometimes.
I will say, because it wasn't a
I
mean
will.
comment. The person just did
It's a
not know
dumb
that.
comment, and I have a problem with it because if we have dumb people, we have dumb people are dangerous too. Take a look at the November 5th election.
Yeah. I did explain it to the person. I hope that they got it. And I don't want them to
I'm
take
sure
it
they
personally,
didn't.
but I did see that, some people they really just don't know. Like they just don't know.
Well, you need
Um,
to find out. It's
yeah.
important now. You need to
Hopefully
find
I gave
out.
them, hopefully I gave them some information where they, checked into it and maybe educated themselves. And if I did it, your comment maybe just kicked them in the butt to make them go and look. But this person, I didn't sense any malice from it. This person really just didn't know. I got that feeling because it was kind of like a little sad face, like, why are we in Haiti in the first place? Why can't we just bring our troops home? Like they don't understand and they don't know. And I think
Yeah,
that
I've
is
seen
part of
those.
the Republican
I've seen
Party's
those.
agenda.
I've seen those passive aggressive comments too, and largely they are Trumplafucks trying to
Yeah.
make a point. Well, I really don't like Trump that much, but Biden sucks. Fuck you. I know who you are.
I think that comments like that lets me know that Republican messaging it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because how if you know better, how can you cheer on Donald Trump attacking Mexico, Canada, Panama? Like when you understand the severity of that and you understand the repercussions and what that could mean, then there would be no way that you could cheer that on. There's no way that you can say, oh, well, we don't need to be there anyway. This is the no more wars president, which actually it's stupid because the first thing he do is talking about starting wars. I think there's a lot of people that just does not understand the severity of that. So it's not like
Yeah.
they mean or MAGA or anything. Like they don't know. They really don't know.
Yeah. It is frustrating talking to some Trumplafucks and even some Democrats. They
It
don't
can
know.
be.
You'll get people who will say, oh, it's so depressing. I don't want to even hear about it. Well, look, we're in a war right now,
Yeah.
and you're either going to fight or you're going to sit on the bench. If you're going to sit on the bench, shut up and don't bother us while we're fighting because we got enough problems in front of us without having dipshits behind us. And I'm sorry if people take offense to that, but if you don't know what's going on, you're fucking lazy and you're a danger because we need everybody all hands on deck in this fight.
Yeah, it's difficult to fight and educate at the same time. I think I told you this in that last podcast that I did. I was like going through the comment section trying to respond to as many people as I can. And somebody said, go to this channel and like watch this video. It's like Tom Powell or something. I can't remember. But I'm like, okay. So I go to the channel, I go to the video, and there is a guy. So what he does is he like bring up comments from like Trump supporters and some of the stuff that they say and try to correct them on what's going on. He doesn't do it in a nice way. He's very harsh with
Oh,
it. And
yeah,
he
it
was,
is.
I don't have time to be nice. I'm just going to be honest. He was sitting there on his channel trying so hard to explain to a Trump supporter how they had control of the House for the last 2 years because this guy could, well, we got control of the House now. We're going to do this. And he kept trying to tell him, you've been had control of the House. You're just maintaining control. And I was like, I see why this person wanted me to watch this video because it was what I was trying to tell you about the guys that I was talking to. And I was like, I went back to that comment and I was like, I watched the video and I really didn't think it was as widespread of a problem. I just thought maybe like, some of the people on the fringe that don't pay attention, they just didn't know. No, it's a thing. These people did not know they were in charge of that. Like he was sitting there so frustrated. He was like shaking because this person did not know that. He did not know it. They thought that it was us that was holding up funding bills and overspending and all of this crazy. Like they really, really did think that Democrats had control. But when you think back to like Fox News and OAN, they would always like Democrats this, Democrats that. They didn't do this. They didn't like it was always the Democrats' fault. Even when, somebody worked with us to get, the continuing resolution passed. It was Democrats and 3 Republicans did this, and this. So they set that narrative up to where they weren't doing anything wrong. Like it was us that was like ruining everything. I don't even know how to explain that, but they did not know. But what I will say is they know now that there's a trifecta and they have control. And so what we have to do is what you suggested. Every time they try to cut funding to kids' cancer or try to cut the VA benefits, anything that they try to do, you're in control of Congress. You are in control of the purse straps. It is your responsibility to blah, blah, blah. It's their fault. Blame it on them. No matter what it is that does or doesn't happen, it is their fault. And we have to continue to do that. They didn't know before, but for sure, they know now because they are all saying, oh, now we got control of the House. They have all these great ideas that they think they're going to do now that they have control, even though they had control before. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I don't generally make I don't make general statements about groups of people ever because you really can't do that. Whether it be black people or boomers, you can't make general statements. I will make one general statement though. Every Trump-la-fuck I have met has been misinformed and flat out stupid. Every one of them I've ever talked to is misinformed and stupid and lazy because they don't try to find out what the truth is. And that's our problem. We've got people that are intellectually at the lowest levels and just can't comprehend truth or fact or anything and don't
Yeah.
want to. It's one thing to not know anything and want to learn. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're dumb and think you're a genius, well, you're fucking dangerous. And we've got a country full of dangerous people because they're stupid and they don't get it or too lazy to get it.
I think that some of these people, I don't know how to say this, like they have been kicked down and they have been left behind. There is like when the wild child, like when she came here and she started going to school, she was like, yeah, my school gives out tablets to everybody. Like where she from, they don't get free tablets and all of that other stuff that she gets. But they are pointing the blame in the wrong direction. It's very easy for these red states to A, gerrymander, and B, dumb down their population, and C, just lie. It
Yeah,
is not just politicians saying that. These are like churches saying that. These are like
absolutely.
pastors and, like they really do program people to think a certain way. I still can't completely excuse it because I have girls that come to my home all the time. There's one there now, my TT is taken care of, who are just adamantly anti-abortion. You can't do this. It's God's way. It's a blessing, whatever, whatever, whatever. But the moment it's their daughter, the moment it's their wife, the moment it's their sister, the moment they will have no problem going somewhere else and getting that help. So it's not that they don't know better, because they don't, but it's the fact that they are willing to excuse it when it's them, but they have absolutely no grace, no compassion. If that same situation happened to anybody else, they will be the very first people to judge somebody. I think that I will never in my life go to like an evangelical mega church again in my life. We went because one of the volunteers was like, hey, this is what we up against. And we went, and that whole entire sermon, it was all politics. And it was
Yeah.
all, just imagine Marjorie Taylor Greene with a pulpit and a couple thousand people listening, cheering, clapping for her, and every 30 minutes passing the collection plate. That's what
Yeah.
that church is. And they had a revival that they were planning, and they canceled the revival so that they could celebrate Trump's inauguration. And this is a mega church that doesn't babysit the children in the church for free, even though I still don't get that part. It's
Tell you what,
crazy.
if I'm in a place like that and they pass the plate around every half hour, every time it comes around, I'm taking a handful out and then go give it to somebody who needs some fucking food. At least something decent can be done about that shit. Yeah,
And
it's
they don't pay taxes. They do not pay
no,
taxes. They want to talk about other people on welfare. You don't pay your taxes, but you got to pay your
yeah.
time. But if you are struggling, they're not going to help you with your bills. When this woman was talking to us about not being able to afford childcare and the church charging her for childcare, and in the meantime, you pay your tithes. You could take that tithe money and go pay for your baby to be in daycare. Why the heck are you in this church? And she actually says, she was like, I think that maybe I want to like fall back from the church for a while. And one of the nuns that was with us, she was like, you think so, huh?
Well, here's the deal. What does it say that I got to fall back from the church a little bit because I can't afford it? I'm sure Jesus would be on board with that. I
Yeah.
can't afford to come to church, Jesus. I'm sorry. Fuck's
Not only
sake.
that, did you hear Will talk about the 400,000 to go to church with Trump?
Yeah.
What we learned going to this church was that's not going to be a one and done type thing. He going to be making like these pop-up appearances to some of these like churches. The information that I have about it is once he won re-election, he just completely cut the evangelicals off. I don't need y'all in these prayer phone calls. I don't need y'all calling me asking for none of this crap. I'm good. What they did was make a deal with him. If you could come to some of our churches, it could be beneficial to you type of thing.
Yeah.
The further you are from Trump, the less you have to pay. The closer you are to Trump, the more you have to pay. So you could be in a church in one of the nosebleed seats, and I think the smallest price is like $100,000 or something like that. So if
Right.
you want to buy a spot to be in the church with Trump, you could do that. But your seating is going to be depending on how much money you paid for Trump to be there at that church. And now these evangelical pastors and all of that kind of stuff, they get to boost up their congregation, get more donations, collect more in the collection plate, all this stuff, if they can get Trump to make an appearance. So yeah, we got to pay for him to be here, and he's going to charge people, but it's going to like boost up our status within MAGA because Trump came to our church. So this is
Well,
getting ready to be a whole grift of him going to these evangelical churches, charging these people anywhere $100,000 to $400,000, maybe more by the time he's done with this little tour. I have no idea, but that is what he's doing. And this church that I went to today, I am pretty sure that fool is going to be up in that church. I'm pretty sure of it because it was all MAGA. It was all Democrats are bad. We I'm gonna just let that go.
Well,
But
now
that's the
my question is, he can't run again in 2028. So what's he fundraising for? He can't say I'm doing campaign fundraising because he can't campaign. So
mm-hmm.
he's just going to stuff this in his pocket, and that in
Yeah,
itself is illegal.
yeah,
Like I've said before, if whether he gets away with some of this stuff or he doesn't get away from stuff, make no
mm-hmm.
mistake, Donald Trump will commit other felonies between
Yeah.
now and whatever time he leaves, whether it's the day after or 2 years after. He's going to commit some other felonies, and he will be again in a position to be indicted again. And what a fucking piece of shit. Oh my
You know
god.
that some of these people they think Steve Bannon, yeah, he did go to prison because he, lied to Congress and all that other kind of stuff. There's people within the MAGA movement that don't even know about the Build the Wall scam. They just
Oh,
thought that it was a targeted investigation by the Biden administration, even though this all went down under the Trump administration. It's weird the things that they think because it's like that's not the order that this happened in. Like this went down under Trump's watch. What are you talking about? Biden's administration didn't have nothing to do with build the wall. Wasn't that Trump's
oh.
thing? But I guess they thought that Biden targeted him. It's really weird when you are around these people because it makes no sense. But that's what they think about Steve Bannon, that they targeted him. The Biden administration targeted him because he wouldn't flip on Trump or lie on Trump or whatever the heck that is. But they really do think that about Steve Bannon, which answers my question. Why are y'all watching Steve Bannon, promoting him and giving him money when he stole millions from y'all within the Build the Wall Fund? To them, he didn't steal from them. There wasn't no Build the Wall Fund thing that they're talking about. That was an attack from the Biden administration's DOJ towards him. That's why they did that.
Well, and and
If you know
and
anything
Steve,
about Barry Garland, you know that ain't true. Yeah.
yeah. Well, Steve Bannon is going back on trial too. He could very well go back to jail. Probably will go back to jail.
Yeah.
Um, it's just, and the positive part of this, all these people giving 100,000 here or 400,000 there. I
Can
hope
you?
he gets all your motherfucking money. I hope he gets every fucking penny of your money. I hope you're broke as a joke and you fucking deserve it because you're going to you've been played already and you're going to allow yourself to get played again. And I hope you do. Keep giving Donald Trump money. Just keep giving that motherfucker money because he's 78. He's not healthy. He's going to keel over soon anyway. So all that money will go for naught and you will be without your money. And this world will be safer when dumb fucks don't have a lot of money.
I will continue to come into these red states and help these girls and these children because the immunizations come from both male and female as long as I can. But being in these like hardcore red Bible Belt areas is I don't know, it's like a different world that we come
Yeah,
into. Like you just kind of have to adapt to certain things, like calling him Daddy Trump and the things that they think, um, that they just think was like it's like the easiest answer. Oh, that was a DOJ attack on Trump. That was a setup. He didn't do this. Bannon didn't do that. That was Biden attacking him. Biden was so crooked. They'll bring up Hunter Biden and they'll bring up Hillary Clinton. And it's like, what the hell are y'all talking about? But they really, really, really do believe this. They really believe it. Hardcore believe it. I will never get over the Daddy Trump thing. It's weird to see like a big dude saying that Daddy Trump is coming into office and all this weird stuff. It is insane how they worship this man. Um, but at the same time, it's kind of comical. You laugh at it to keep yourself going and you crack jokes and stuff. But at the same time, you see these people and you see that they really don't have much. And they have so
yeah,
much faith in somebody who is just about to disappoint them and wreck their whole world upside down. And they don't even
absolutely.
see it coming. They don't see it coming. They'll blame Elon Musk. and they'll definitely blame Vivek because he brown. So
Yeah.
they hate this man out here. How could you hate this man when Trump put him in that position? Trump gets no blame for putting this man in that position. Like they think like Vivek just came in and said, "This is my position and I'm doing it." Trump didn't have no say so in it. And anytime you
Yeah.
say something like that, it's Musk is manipulating Trump. He didn't think this way. He didn't do these things before Musk and Vivek came in. It is their fault. They do not point the finger at Trump at all. It's going to be a pretty hard crash to watch, and I hope that I don't know how hard it's going to be for these people, but it's going to be hard. It's gonna be hard for them. It's gonna be
And
hard.
I
You're gonna be
and
laughing and
I
getting your chuckles in. I'm gonna feel bad for some of them. I ain't even gonna hold you. I'm gonna feel bad for some of them. Can't
I'm
kill
going to
stupid.
enjoy every moment of it. The more pain and struggle these people have, the better. Well, also, we're going to wrap things up. We're at that point. I want to thank you for coming by. It's always
Yeah.
good to hear from you.
I'm still waiting
Um,
on Max's email or if he wants to try to, or this person, I don't know, he or she wants to try to like promote a community within their area. My offer still stands. I'll do a TikTok live with you. I will come on the podcast and talk with you. Send Boober that email. Put yourself out there. You're gonna be all right. We need these communities, so you can do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, for those of you listening, thank you for taking the time. I hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you again.